Hello, my name is Erlyn Taylor, and this is my business partner Melanie Adrian, and we are with A&G Rental Management. We are a property management company here in Portland, Oregon, and we've been in business since 2007. Today we'd like to talk about how to evict or get rid of a tenant that has not paid rent. We get asked all the time, what do we do, who do we call, how do we evict them, how long does it take? Well, the first thing that you'd want to do is you're going to want to pull out the lease that the tenant signed, and you'll want to check the lease to make sure what it states regarding how much grace period they have, when they were supposed to turn in the rent, what their late fee is, etc. Here in the state of Oregon, the rent is due by the 1st, and it is considered late on the 2nd. After you've reviewed your lease and you've determined when the rent is late, if that date has passed, you want to make a checklist of items, starting with you'll want to send out a 72-hour notice or a non-payment of rent notice. And there's two different ways that you can do that. There's called a 72-hour notice, which I just mentioned, or a 144-hour notice. You'll want to post and mail one of those notices, whichever one you decide to use. And you'll want to make sure that you mail, preferably you'll want to mail that so that you ensure that the tenant receives it and cannot say that it wasn't posted properly and the wind blew it away and they didn't get notification that they had not paid their rent. So ideally or preferably, you'll want to mail your notice. After you mail the notice, you'll want to make sure that the tenant can either mail or post or give you the rent, and they have availability to drive, mail, post anything, your rent back to you or any kind of notice back to you. Otherwise, that notice will be, that 72 or that 144-hour non-payment of rent notice will be considered invalid. If they have not paid by the end of the notice that you've given them, and by the way, if you do mail it, you have to add 4 days to that notice, you'll want to pursue either hiring an attorney, and it needs to be ideally or preferably a landlord-tenant attorney, not a slip and fall attorney or injury attorney or a labor attorney. You'll want to make sure you're consulting with an attorney that's really knows the landlord-tenant law. Or you can simply visit your county courthouse, and usually there's a legal aid of some sort or someone that can guide you through what forms to use and how to process them, and then you can represent yourself in tenant landlord court cases.
And another important thing to remember in processing an eviction and late rent is the Oregon Landlord-Tenant Law, and making sure that your forms that you are filling out, as Erlyn mentioned, are completed correctly. Anytime that one slight error is made, whether it's a date or the way you served the notice, can basically make your notice that you've sent default, and you have to start over. So that delays your the eviction process and procedure, which makes your collection of rent that much more difficult. One of the best things to do is just to keep an open line of communication with your tenant or resident, and ideally you want to stay out of court if possible, because that can be very, very costly. So you want to just keep that communication open in an attempt to collect the rent, find out what the situation is. Everybody has a situation, and if it's something that you feel like you can overlook, great, allow them to pay the rent late with the late fee. Otherwise, if you feel like it's been an ongoing thing that they're paying rent late, then go ahead and proceed with eviction, and making sure that you work with the right people and they're helping you make the right decisions as you move through that process. So like Erlyn said, following your checklists and procedures and systems, so that once you are in court, everything goes smoothly. Sometimes when you are in court, rather than having an attorney, you can meet in front of a judge. If you're representing obviously your side and your tenant is there, there's usually like arbitration. You can meet in the middle so you can at least get your rent. Maybe it might be late, and then you come up with a date for them to move out, and everything again saves you money in the long run, and you collect your rent also in the end. Anyway, that has to do with late rent and evictions, and there's other evictions that also take place, and that will be for another day. But we'd like to thank you. My name is Melanie Adrian. This is my partner here, business partner, Erlyn Taylor. And if you have any questions, please feel free to give us a call.